Since Season of the Undying, we have been given some of the strongest mods in the game via the seasonal artifact. Lucent Blade, Oppressive Darkness are just a couple of these famously powerful mods of yore. Season of the Splicer is no exception to offering some powerful tools at our disposal. There's a theme of explosions with this season's artifact mods, as they are centered around grenade launchers and rockets, which has been a good deal of fun. But it wouldn't be a Destiny 2 season without something pulling more weight than intended. Enter Energy Accelerant, and the focus of this video. It can be found at the bottom of the final column of this season's artifact, the Peridrome Cube, and it applies to your respective class item. It also comes in an affordable 2 energy cost for your armor. The text for the mod reads, "Your Dragonfly, Chain Reaction, and Firefly explosions deal more damage." Sounds great, and it is. However, it just so happens to go beyond its written bounds in some delightful ways. I know we're a little over halfway through the season, so there is a limited amount of time to make good on the seasonal artifact, but it will be well worth the effort if you can get your hands on this mod. Earlier in the season, Telesto and Symmetry both erroneously benefited from Energy Accelerant, pumping up the damage on their explosions to a ridiculous potency. This was a large pain point for those playing Trials, as you can imagine, and Bungie quickly took the mod offline in order to make some adjustments so that Energy Accelerant would apply to the proper weapons and perks. But Energy Accelerant's unintended reach still remains, sans the previously mentioned exotics. Being of a curious mind and wanting to see what silly builds I could make, I went and did some testing to see exactly what does and does not benefit from the stronger Boom Boom Maker. Some of these results surprised me, and they might surprise you too. Both through rumors and my own hypotheses, I looked at a lot of weapons to see what is and isn't compatible with Energy Accelerant. With all of these weapons, I tried to get a baseline damage number without any weapon mods and without Energy Accelerant, and then took it from there. First up, we'll take a look at Nature of the Beast, a 180 RPM energy slot hand cannon. For the base explosion damage, I got 6,169 damage. Nice. Then I added in the Dragonfly mod, but no Energy Accelerant, and got 9,044 damage. Next, I tested with just Energy Accelerant and got 10,298 damage. Finally, we put it all together, Dragonfly mod and Energy Accelerant got a massive 18,087 damage on a Dragonfly explosion. Now, time to crunch some numbers. If we compare our baseline with all of these additions, we see some startling jumps in damage. With just the Dragonfly mod, we get about a 47% damage increase. With just Energy Accelerant, about a 67% damage increase, and the full shebang, we get a whopping 193% damage increase on those Dragonfly explosions. It sounds ridiculous and probably a little unbelievable. A 180 hand cannon capable of that kind of explosive damage? Yes indeed, it is doing that kind of damage. It is equal parts ridiculous and terrifying, but in the end, it is absurdly fun. I also tested this on several other legendary weapons and a handful of exotics. And although exotics cannot have Dragonfly or enemy tier mods attached to them, like Minor Spec, Major Spec, shenanigans and explosions ensued. We'll take a quick look at how Frozen Orbit and Threaded Needle interact with this mod, and then we'll see how Energy Accelerant works or doesn't with some exotics. For Frozen Orbit, a 72 RPM energy slot sniper, I did the same test as I did with Nature of the Beast, a baseline of no mods or Energy Accelerant, just Dragonfly, just Energy Accelerant, and then both of them together. The base explosion, we got 8,337 damage. With just Dragonfly mod, we got 12,221 damage. And now, just Energy Accelerant came in at 16,637 damage. And finally, with both of them together, once again, 24,442 damage. So, how do these numbers compare with what we got with Nature of the Beast? With just Dragonfly mod, we get a 47% increase. Should sound a little familiar. With Energy Accelerant, we got a 100% damage increase, roughly. It's a bit of a jump from what we got with Nature of the Beast, and I'm willing to chalk this up to my own user error more than anything else. We'll see some numbers later that will make more sense of that. And last, but far from least, we have Dragonfly mod and Energy Accelerant packing in the crazy 193% damage increase should also sound familiar. Now, the important numbers to pay attention to are the bookends, in my opinion. We got 47% with just Dragonfly, and then when we put Dragonfly and Energy Accelerant together, we get 193% for both Nature of the Beast and Frozen Orbit respectively. So, you might be seeing a trend here. Energy Accelerant does some serious damage boosting to these Dragonfly explosions, especially when you have them combined between Energy Accelerant and Dragonfly mod. As obvious as this might be, my running theory is that Energy Accelerant is really strong and does some work for making the big booms go bigger and boomier. Just to confirm our theory and get a bit more data, we'll take a quick peek at the Linear Fusion Threaded Needle, see what results we get. Then, up to bat is how this mod does and doesn't apply its wild space magic to exotics. The test hasn't changed. This is how we'll get our numbers. No mods, just Dragonfly, just Energy Accelerant, and then both of them together. So, for the base damage numbers, our base boom was 6,786 damage. With just Dragonfly, we get 9,948 damage. Just Energy Accelerant, 13,572 damage. And with both Dragonfly and Energy Accelerant combined, we get 19,896 damage. The percentage increase and bang for your buck still holds true across the board and through all three of these tests, with the exception of maybe the middle one for Nature of the Beast. That's my own bad, sorry. You know the drill by this point, so here we go. Dragonfly mod gave us a 47% damage increase on those explosions. Just Energy Accelerant gave us a 100% damage boost. And both together, you may have guessed, a 193 damage percent increase on those explosions. Phew. Okay, weapon explosion testing out of the way. And we can see that yes indeed, Energy Accelerant does good things for Dragonfly. But, like I mentioned earlier, the reach of the seasonal mod goes beyond its written intent. How it interacts with some exotic weapons is a delight, as well as having an absurd effect on one legendary sword in particular. So, let's take a gander. First up to bat are the exotic bows, and after some testing, I'm sad to say that both Lemonarch and Trinity Ghoul don't benefit from Energy Accelerant. But TQ's does, and from what data I gathered, at peak explosion, it gets a potential 86% boost. Not too shabby for a mod that inexplicably works where it shouldn't. Next up, Sunshot, the exploding hand cannon of a forgotten age. Sunshot is already a fun gun to use. The explosions, feeding explosions, feeding explosions, feeding explosions looks awesome and feels great. Having a potential 107% damage increase to those explosions makes it all the more awesome. In the same vein of explosions feeding explosions, it's time to look at Graviton Lance. This pulse rifle, with a slight identity crisis, was a little tough to get the damage numbers because of how explosions work on the gun. You shoot the guy, they tumble backwards, you have the little mini nose going off, so there's probably a small margin of error. But, that being said, a potential 100% explosive damage increase is fantastic. Both Sunshot and Graviton were so fun to use, and due to how the explosions chain together so well, I at times would nearly wipe out an entire room just trying to get footage for this by killing the right guy at the right time. So, Energy Accelerant plus these guns is a lot of fun. But, moving on, and more on the fringe of my testing, because at this point I wasn't sure at what would and wouldn't work, I tested out the Mighty Thunderlord, and the results may shock you. Baseline Lightning Zap gives 8,337 damage. With Energy Accelerant, I got 16,637 damage. So, the Lord of Thunder also benefits from Energy Accelerant and gives a potential 100% damage increase to its AoE lightning strikes. Rad. I also throw in a bit of bonus footage here to see what adding Weapons of Light and Energy Accelerant would do. And it pumps up the lightning damage to 22,508, giving the AoE damage a potential 170% increase. And we'll touch on Weapons of Light in just a little bit later. You'll see this theme running through all of this, with the 100% increase, the 170% increase. But like I said, more on that later. Now, on to one of the more unique fusion rifles in the game, Jotun. It also benefits from this wild mod. The Toaster's baseline explosion damage is 5,902, and with Energy Accelerant, I got 11,804. A nice potential of 100% damage to its AoE, not the direct impact. You might be seeing a theme forming here. One of my absolute favorite weapons that I tested was Ace of Spades. This gun has had a soft spot in my heart since it's been around in Destiny 2. Intrinsically, the gun has a Firefly perk, which is great, but With the Catalyst, Ace gets a big boost to the Firefly while Memento Mori is active. So let's go ahead and compare Ace at its natural best versus its Energy Accelerant best. That is with Memento Mori procs in both cases. For base damage explosion, we get 9,254, and with Energy Accelerant, we get 18,507. If you are seeing a trend happen here too, then you're not alone. The potential percentage boost we get from Energy Accelerant is 100%. This has been a lot of numbers, stats, testing, different weapons, and overall a lot of info to take in. It might be a lot, I know, I'm sorry for that. It kind of became a rabbit hole once I got looking into it all. But we're not quite done yet. There are 2 more weapons that I really want to check out, and then we'll be able to go on our merry way. The last 2 weapons are Ruinous Effigy and Legendary Sword Crown Splitter. Ruinous Effigy, another one of my favorite weapons in Destiny 2 because of how unique it is. It is a trace rifle and does the normal beam shooting that trace rifles do. But every so often, when you kill an enemy, a purple orb will spawn that you can pick up and guard with, use light melee attacks like you would if holding a relic, or use the full charge on the orb and slam it into the ground for a large amount of damage. And it's this slam attack that interests us the most here. Baseline damage from the slam is 59,191 damage. When we add Energy Accelerant into the mix, we get 118,382 damage. Now, if you've been following along, you might have guessed already, but that nets us a 100% damage increase. Awesome. Now, the extra interesting piece is that this orb from Ruinous Effigy also benefits from Weapons of Light. And with Energy Accelerant and Weapons of Light together, we get 159,816 damage, a 170% damage increase. Might sound familiar, wink wink nudge nudge Thunderlord. I truly don't know why Energy Accelerant or Weapons of Light work on the orb, but it does, and I love it, because it's silly fun, and it offers a unique build and pumps out tons of damage. Go try it if you have your hands on Ruinous Effigy, it's just a blast. Now, last but not least, the final weapon I tested was the Crown Splitter. Every class has had their specific sword reissued this season, those being Quick Fang for Hunters, Eternity's Edge for Warlocks, and Crown Splitter for Titans. I love the play of Quick Fang quite a bit, didn't ever try out Eternity's Edge on a Warlock, and I was never so charmed by Crown Splitter on the Titan. And I wouldn't say that I've so much been charmed into using Crown Splitter as I am empowered and intimidated at the same time by what it can do. I got what I consider to be one of the strongest rolls in a sword that you can get, of Relentless Strikes and Whirlwind Blade, but none of the damage tests I did were with Whirlwind Blade procced. A base slam with Crown Splitter against the boss gave us 73,356 damage. Next up, put on Boss Spec mod and got 79,056 damage, which is about an 8% bump. Not too shabby. Now, take off the Boss Spec, put on only Energy Accelerant, and it gives us a 146,711 damage. The numbers just keep proving themselves, and the trend continues. Energy Accelerant by itself gives us a flat 100% damage increase. So, let's put on Boss Spec mod and Energy Accelerant. What do we get? 158,111 damage, a 116% damage buff. Now, sword being a conventional weapon, it can be buffed by Weapons of Light, and the damage you get from all of these combined, Boss Spec, Energy Accelerant, Weapons of Light, was 213,449, a gnarly 191% damage increase. This sword is no joke, and it's a little silly. So, for you Titans out there, enjoy. You now have one of the strongest weapons this season that you can wield. Alright, we made it. I'm proud of you. I'm a little proud of myself too. This was a pretty healthy list of weapons, but I'm sure I missed something. I did some tests on weapons that I didn't even list. Cloud Strike, Black Talon, and Warmind Cells, because it would have run the video even longer. But if you need to know, the shorter of those tests was Energy Accelerant just doesn't apply. That being said, experiment around yourself. See if you can find anything else that benefits from this wild mod. If not, I'm more than certain this list will carry you to the end of the season. All in all, Energy Accelerant is a mighty powerful mod. If you have the chance to get your hands on it, play around with it, I suggest you do just that. It makes the potency of dragonfly analogous to the mythical beast in the root of its name. It makes some exotics even more silly, and it makes other weapons an absolute tour de force. Is it broken? Try it out for yourself and let me know. I hope this was at least a bit helpful, or informative, or entertaining. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.